We are here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generations.
Bringing news just for you. It's Friday, June 28th here in Seoul. I'm Song Yejin, and thank you for joining us on News Generation. Today we're joined by Cheska Dainhong.
Finally, it's Friday!
Yes! And Uijin.
Happy Friday!
Now, both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. So we're gonna jump into our main discussion topic of the day right away. Today we're gonna talk about what gives us energy and joy outside of school or work. And that's right, we're gonna talk about hobbies. So take a look at the screen to find out more. Most of us have one or two activities we love to indulge in during our spare time. For some, it might be sports. For others, it might be music, watching movies, or TV shows while relaxing. Hobbies are definitely not a new concept, but what's interesting is the rise in millennials and Gen Z who call themselves hobby rich. Why is the younger generation so into having multiple hobbies? So after a long week, it's finally the weekend. I could see that both of you guys were super excited when you guys said Happy Friday. So it's finally the weekend. So first of all, do you have any plans for the weekend, Cheska?
Yeah, there was a reason I think Heejun and I were both very excited to celebrate Friday.
You guys definitely seem like
Yeah, I think we were super energetic. And I think I fit quite aptly for today's topic. I actually have a lot of plans for the weekend. So I love to go hiking. I have book clubs. I take classes. I have work meetings. I bike ride. I have cafe tours, tea ceremony, riding. I mean, the list goes on.
I think I can't do that like throughout an entire week. Wow.
What about you, Yujin? Are you sort of like a hobby crazy person like me, or?
I think I'm kind of like the opposite. So when I got today's topic, I was like, what should I talk about? Because I kind of think that I don't have a hobby. I kind of have a semi-hobby. I like to like sleep or watch YouTube or streaming services over the weekend.
Isn't that more of a recovery rather
I think
than
so. I think it's recovering myself so that I can survive the week after. But I think that the reason why I don't have like a clear hobby because I don't really feel bored or I don't really feel the need to have a hobby. I think that just sleeping and watching videos and sometimes meeting my friends is enough. So my resolution or my goal for today is to learn from all the hobby rich people and kind of discover what kind of hobby that I might want to have in the near future. So you guys should help me out.
Okay, I definitely will. Yeah.
Now to you, Heejun, do you have any hobbies? Are you hobby rich as well?
Well, to be honest, like I'm not really energetic person, but I used to play as athlete before. So I love all type of the sports. Like, so I usually spend a lot of times in the weekend to do some kind of exercises or workouts. Well, I also go to gyms or CrossFit box or to exercise myself and find a full circle club or find a like one-day class to learn new sports, like which is I have never been. So, or in this hot weather, it's like to have like swimming sports or finding marine sports.
Nice.
In one of the fun things to do as well, but you must wear the sunscreen. Well, these days are the weather is getting crazy, so I also last week I did a little swimming there, but I get a little sunburn. So do not forget to put some sunscreens on your skin.
A very nice tip for our viewers who are watching. Now, based on both of your answers, Cheska's never-ending list of hobbies and also Heejun being a big sports person. I think that looking at you guys and just people around us, most millennials and Gen Z have at least one hobby or even many, unlike myself. Is that true, Cheska?
Yeah, I actually think even just amongst my friends, I mean, I think you're a very unique person too, which I think is really special because my friends, they seem to have hobbies that range pretty far and wide in many ways. And I almost start to think, is this a trend? Like, is this a trend that our generation is picking up? And the numbers also back this up. I mean, almost 81% of MZers said they have hobbies, and more than 70% say they enjoy 2 or 3 different types of hobbies. And crowning number 1, as Heejun mentioned, was actually working out.
Wow.
So anything related to physical fitness, running, hiking, and different types of sports. And there was another interesting trend. If we take a look at the screen, now according to a survey conducted over the year 2022 and 2023, there have been some very interesting changes in people's spending pattern. So the 2 sports, if you actually look, that require both the equipment and, quote, rental of space decreased. And the 2 workouts that that you see in the middle that can be enjoyed everywhere and anywhere without any equipment actually increased.
Wow.
So, and I can actually speak on behalf of tennis because I play actually quite actively when I'm in the States, but I actually rarely play when I'm in Korea, even though I own my own rackets, because one, there aren't any free courts available, and even if I can secure a court, it's sometimes too time consuming and even cost consuming to actually, play it here. So I resort to like biking or hiking that doesn't require any cost or even places.
So definitely the younger generation or just people in general want to have like a hobby that they can enjoy like anytime and any place. Which kind of shows how much our generation is interested in having a hobby. Now to get a better picture, Heejun, how much time and money are the younger generation on average are spending to like find a hobby or invest in hobbies?
Well, for the MGs, hobbies are both like escape or also investment for their growth. And I'm also the case who gets a lot of developments and in my career with the various hobbies that I usually do, such as languages and learning new things. And therefore, money and time are often invested in hobby. And according to the survey on the screen, we see it. On average, of the 1 to 3 hours per week was the most common time and frequently to doing some kind of hobby. And more than 10 hours also reached the 10%. And also the percentage of spending 100,000 to 200,000 won per month was the highest. And I'm also seems to have like usually spend that amount also. But there were many cases where I spent more like a traveling and joined the competition, etc. And at the time I was like hesitate also because it was a little bit of large expenses. But in the end, I thought that it was an experience that I couldn't buy with the money. And so I had no difficulties anymore to making more bigger decision for investing some money in my hobby.
I think you mentioned a very good point. I think one of the reasons why our generation is into having multiple hobbies because they're kind of seeing this as a way to develop themselves. It's kind of like recover from all the large amount of schoolwork or office work they have. Now, I want to ask you, Cheska, I want to ask your opinion on what could be some of the other reasons why our generation is having not one, but multiple hobbies.
You know how I mentioned that it's this a trend? I posed the question. And the reason is I think there are multiple reasons for this kind of phenomenon. And there was obviously self-development and stress release. But most importantly, I think it also has to do with the environment that we are at the moment. It's kind of difficult to get a sense of accomplishment in a competitive society, especially when you're working in a corporate setting. The sense of identity can be really hard to find. But hobbies actually enable us to find satisfaction and also outlet. But at the same time, it also gives us a sense of accomplishment in ways that are very easy. So it has to do with our generation. And I think pertaining to like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which actually explains that when you fulfill the need of security and safety, people actually look for self-esteem, right? But if that self-esteem is difficult to find in a workplace, I think people turn to a variety of hobbies in our generation. And overall, people do want to feel empowered. We talked about the life of Katseng, right? People want to see their accomplishments visibly, even small or big. And I think they want to really be proactive in their lives. So even though we talked about having all these hobbies, I think they could, shine light on the psychology of a generation, wanting to feel this sense of accomplishment and almost empowerment, I suppose.
Right. And I think that expanding on Cheska's answer, Heejun, I want to ask you, can we see this as a difference between the younger generation and the previous generations? For example, what Cheska mentioned, how our generation is into a more proactive lifestyle, feeling good about that sense of accomplishment.
In that survey, many answered that it was due to the stress relief and also personal satisfactions. But in fact, many MGs don't spare the money for their hobbies or self, even at the high prices. And hobbies such as exercises or some kind of baking, also like self-care, can lead to the good daily life, as you said, the katseng.
Right.
And they're just making to great importance to take care of themselves and also the focus on like what they really want to do. So it seems that there are some perspective or things that MGs are more free in time when you compare with the old generations. But recently, as more and more MGs are alone without the like having married, so they're spending their leisures or they're doing what they want. So So they like seems to be having more various hobby. That's why.
Right. Before, when we lived with our families, we can have during the weekend we kind of like indulge ourselves to family activities. But as Heejun mentioned, now that we're seeing an increase in one-person households, I think that people have definitely more time for them to find what they really want to do, which leads to them finding and doing multiple hobbies. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree.
Right. So, I mean, what factors influence the younger generation when choosing a hobby other than what was discussed earlier? So we also asked our viewers, and here's what 3 of them had to say. So if we look at the comments, MIMS says, my hobbies are influenced by interest and accessibility. I like crafts such as cross stitch because I can do that at home. I like walks, but hiking is difficult because of transportation to the trails. Brodo Kiba says, for me, choosing a hobby is influenced by personal interest, availability of time, considerations related to health and physical abilities. Personal interest drives the initial attraction to a hobby, while time availability and financial constraints determine its feasibility. Tasmia says, I choose based on skill development, personal growth, curiosity, and meditation. So I think that the comments kind of show the different kind of important factors that our generation thinks when choosing a hobby. I think that they kind of match with what you guys mentioned earlier, right?
Yeah, and I also like the idea, somebody mentioned like it also has to do with their physical
Oh,
and the personal,
right.
like health and interest, which I think is really important because as I mentioned, like hobbies becoming a trend. So I think people kind of take on these hobbies without thinking about their own capabilities.
Yeah.
So I like that answer.
Me too. Now, to find out whether this hobby-rich phenomena, which we're talking about, is prevalent in other parts of the world, to have a look further, we're going to invite an American Gen Z to join our discussion right after this break. We're back. Today we're joined by Brandon M. Jones, an American Gen Z working as a model in Korea, and he says he has several hobbies. Welcome, Brandon, and it's great to have you back on the show.
Good morning. Well, good afternoon, good evening. Just gotta say hello to everybody. But thank you guys for having me back on the show.
Great.
Hope
It's
you guys
always
are doing well.
It's always lovely to have you. So, Brandon, our first question for you is: we've heard that you are hobby rich. So, how many hobbies exactly do you have, and what are they?
Let me count. I got a lot. So I got guitar. As you guys can see, I do Muay Thai, which is Thailand boxing. I do computer programming. I make YouTube videos, TikTok, and I like making model kits. So here's one of them. I like to make little model kits and paint them.
Wow,
So,
impressive.
a lot of stuff I like to do. And I also like to work out.
You know, we're really curious. Do you notice that your peers in Korea and the United States also have a lot of hobbies? So what are the differences between the two countries or cultures?
I think it just has to do a lot with time. Some countries have more time, and depending on how much time you have for free time, you do more hobbies. Like in Korea, you guys have Huishik, so that kind of does pull into your free time. But when Koreans do have time, I know they love to go hiking. I know they like to do golf. They do tennis. There's a lot of interesting things they like to do. But in America, a lot of people play video games, so it's a little different. I know Koreans are really outdoor for their hobbies.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I also wonder, like, what do you think are the benefits and then drawbacks of having the several hobbies?
I think just having hobbies in general, it makes it a lot of social things. A lot of hobbies are social. So if you're working out, it makes you meet new people. Maybe you're in a book reading club, you still get to meet people. The only drawback of having a lot of hobbies is, like I said before, is time. You just got to have good time management. But I think having multiple hobbies is good. It gets you away from the work. It gives you a work-life balance. So it's pretty good.
All right. Great answers as usual. Thank you so much, Brandon, for your time today. As always, we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. And have a lovely day, you guys.
Thank you. Right, so I'm sure that some of our viewers who are watching our episode today don't have a clear hobby yet. Some of them might, just like myself. So, and they might be wondering what kind of hobby they should try or they want to discover after looking at our interesting episode today. So I want to ask you guys, are there any hobbies that you would like to recommend for hobby new starters? For example, you can mention some of the hobbies that were like trending among the younger generation here in Korea in the past too.
You know, there's so many. I mean, as I mentioned, I have a
You
list.
have a lot of
I
hobbies.
know. I'm like a Santa Claus. If you guys want, I have everything you guys want. But for now, I would like to I mean, it's not even a recommendation, but I have two that I would like to talk about. And one is book club. And the other is actually meditation or like a tea ceremony. And please bear in mind, as I said, I'm completely biased because I do love both of them, but it really stems from a very good heart. And let me explain. I think already because the hobby is trending, there are so many activities that are being advertised that channel our focus and energy outward.
Right.
Whether it's to showcase or expose ourselves, whether it's fitness or even just going out and doing something, which I think is absolutely important. But equally, I think we need activities that are focused more inward.
Right.
And, you know, to literally train and build our inner muscles.
Right.
And I think these two are quite fundamental in building that side of our muscle as opposed to the actual external muscle that a lot of people focus on. And again, I think both of them are important, but maybe it's time to place emphasis on both of them equally. Yeah.
Right, because I think having a strong inner muscle really is like the building block of what you do outside, outdoor activities, studying, or whether you're at work. So I think that's really important. That's a really great hobby.
And as we mentioned, a lot of people do these hobbies for self-development and stress release, right? But one of the causes of stress and self-development is really your inner psyche. So when people focus a lot more on taking care of themselves, I think it kind of initiates a very positive cycle.
Yeah, it's a good cycle.
Yeah, to do other things. So that would be my recommendation.
Well, after listening to Cheska's recommendation, I would like to try out meditation because I often struggle with anxiety and stress levels, high stress
Helps
levels.
so much.
Yes, maybe I should just try meditating this afternoon.
Yeah, or like a tea ceremony, you know,
Oh,
you
yeah,
drink
tea ceremony.
and then have a little sweet,
Right.
read a book.
Yeah, maybe. That sounds really nice.
Yes.
Now, Heejun, our sports panelist.
Yeah, the active person.
What kind of recommendations do you have?
Well, if you're interested in Korean, if you do like sports, I definitely want to recommend some kind of traditional Korean sports.
Like what?
Like taekwondo is obviously
Oh,
good too.
right,
but
right.
you know that there's more of them actually. You know there's a chokgu, which is the foot volleyball in Korea. You like consist with the 4 people in which side and you play the volleyball with the foot. So which is a great to play. And there's also Korean wrestling sirum. Also, you must try. You must
Very
try.
energetic.
Without know any equipment, you just bring it. You know, you can just try it.
Just
And-
your body, right?
Exactly. And
You don't need anything
else. Right. But if you want to do some kind of like equipment and using some technique, maybe the archery is the good hobbies too. In
archery.
Korea. Yes. And there are also many various and pretty mountain in Korea. So if you do like a hiking, the hiking will be the good hobby as well. And if these part become your hobby, traveling in the various Korea rural area and regions can naturally become your another hobbies too. And also it's gonna be perfect to know the Korea with this hobby. I think it's definitely recommended to try some kind of like very sports in Korea.
Based on the recommendations from both of you guys, I can just feel that you guys are passionate and enthusiastic about hobbies because you gave me like tons of things that I would like to try.
So
as a
you're
person.
one of those that don't have a hobby.
Right.
And you heard from both of the spokesperson for the
Yeah.
hobbies. What would be the first thing that you would like to try? We're so curious.
After listening to both your answers, I kind of like drew myself. I kind of imagined like a hobby schedule for me over the weekend because today is Friday. So first of all, I'm gonna do some foot volleyball or I'm gonna go hiking in the morning, and then I'm 100% sure that I'll be exhausted.
Yes.
So then I'm gonna read, and then I'm gonna have a cup of tea, and then I'm also gonna meditate, and then I'm gonna go to bed. And I think that will just wrap up my weekend.
So this is what happens, what Brandon was talking about, like when your time
I'm
is
super
limited.
busy. I may be even busier in the weekend because I have to try out all
you're
these
trying to do
different hobbies.
everything. Yeah.
Well, I hope that today's episode and our discussion helped those who are discovering or trying to start a fun hobby just like me. And until you guys find that interesting hobby that suits you, News Gen is here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks today to Cheska Dainha
Pleasure's always mine. Thank you.
and Uijun.
Happy Friday!
Happy Friday! And thank you everyone for watching and hope you have a great weekend. We are
News Generation.